Hey Internet Wanderer, do you want to know what it's like to play a real-time strategy game? Allow me to demonstrate.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make. Let the tournament begin!
No, they're Sherman tanks. No, they're knights. Who would win, a knight or a tank?
Goddamn pigs, man. But essentially this is where it all started. These heroes are awesome. They should make a game about them. Dota 2, League of Legends, Mobile Legends, Heroes of New Earth, Heroes of the Storm, and even Pokemon Unite. All of these games are all MOBAs, which stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena. However, personally, I prefer the lesser-used genre name of ARTS, or Action Real-Time Strategy. Of course, I still use the term MOBA since it's more widespread, but for a while, and for the most part, these two terms are interchangeable. And there actually is a reason why I think ARTS is a better genre name, because the term MOBA is super vague and could apply to almost any multiplayer game. Smash Brothers, Counter-Strike, Battlefield, War Thunder, FIFA, fucking Garfield Kart. If you take the name MOBA literally, all of these games can fit that category. Anyway, back on topic, the MOBA genre is the child of the real-time strategy genre, which is most evident by the top-down view and right-clicking to move your character that most traditional MOBAs have. And like I said before, ARTS and MOBAs could have been used interchangeably for the most part. However, with every new MOBA that we get nowadays, I feel like the RTS DNA is being removed more and more. For example, League of Legends, Mobile Legends, and Pokemon Unite are fully embracing the A and have kinda given up on the RTS. Hell, nowadays you even have third-person MOBAs and you can forget ever calling these things RTS related. Most unaware gamers wouldn't even realize that this...
Oh, and they have more? I think I lost. I got fucking rushed, man.
...is closely related to this.
I should back, probably, right? That would be the smart.
Do you not have a relighted?
I do.
You greedy hoe.
No! No!
Oh, bad.
And therein lies the point of this entire video. Between Twitch reflex MOBAs like League of Legends and third-person shooter hybrids, the first MOBA, and coincidentally the last of its kind, is the only one that can truly claim to deserve the title of Action RTS.
What does a hero truly mean?
And that game is Dota 2.
Okay. That is for you to decide.
Hey Internet Wanderer, my name is Argonax. On this channel we talk about things that interest me but ultimately don't really matter. But hey, you're one good looking motherfucker for giving a small channel like me a chance. Thanks for clicking on this video. I would also like to express my gratitude and highlight Dota 2 PowerPoints for featuring in this video. This is actually the first time I've ever collabed with somebody on the channel.
Hello Argo viewers.
Link below to their channel in the video description. They make amazing Dota 2 content, would highly recommend. And I totally didn't steal his video idea. Now, just an additional disclaimer. Despite how I'm framing the main topic of this video, I am not saying that Dota is inherently better than these other MOBAs. Just because Dota has a greater emphasis on micro-strategy does not mean it is a better MOBA. If you enjoy League of Legends or Smite for its faster-paced gameplay, all power to you. I'm more so making this video primarily as a person who is nostalgic for the RTS games of old. And I just wanted to highlight that, to me, Dota 2 seems to be the only MOBA that shows off its RTS heritage. So, heads up, I will be doing quite a few comparisons to other MOBAs in this video in order to get my point across. I will try my best to minimize the Riot Games bullying. No promises though. So, let's get some of the painfully obvious things out of the way. One aspect about Dota that truly shows its lineage as an RTS MOBA. Do you want to know what it is? I guarantee you it's going to be something you haven't thought about. Yeah, dragging your mouse to make a selection box. To my knowledge, I don't think any other MOBA lets you do this. I'm fairly confident Heroes of New Earth lets you do this, but that's basically because that game is Dota 1.5. Whereas every other top-down MOBA I'm fairly sure does not have the option to make a selection box. League of Legends doesn't happen. Any MOBA that's played on the phone? There's no way. And you can forget about third-person MOBAs. Sure, in the grand scheme of things, this is not a big deal, but I think that this selection box is indicative of any game that's trying to say that it has the DNA of an RTS game. Dota allows you to control multiple sets of units, whereas in other top-down MOBAs, you quite literally cannot unselect your playable character. There are systems within Dota 2 that actively facilitate the usage of micro-intensive play. For example, the ability to make control groups. This is something any RTS player will instantly recognize. There are entire segments in the Dota 2 Options tab, purely dedicated for helping the player control other units. Take for example, this hotkey. Hell, this footage that I'm showing off right now of me controlling a shit ton of units isn't even an exaggeration. As pointed out by my dedicated YouTube member, Rai Guy, on my Discord. You should join, by the way, both the YouTube membership and Discord, links below. Also, YouTube added this hype button. I have no idea what it does, so help me out and hype this video up, would you? Thank you. In a game of Dota 2, if 4 of your teammates disconnect and abandon the match, you, as the sole remaining player, can control their heroes and possibly, legitimately, win a 1v5 game.
This is the anime battle we've been waiting for. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, the disconnected guy versus the one guy on Dire that's there.
Is he winning this?
Yeah.
Oh my god, because Bloodseeker's in the game? Dude, are you serious?
Actually making use of his disconnected guy.
What the fuck?
Global aura, very nice.
Now that's kinda unrealistic, but there is a precedent. In a high-stakes tournament with a prize pool of 100k, renowned Dota 2 pro player NoTail was able to win a tournament when his teammate disconnected, a 4v5.
See if they get a good fight in this bottom lane. Moon found, and Fisher immediately land a miracle. He is pretty damn tanky though. RP actually catches 2. Snowball might just be able to turn this one around, but the Echo Slam gets laid out, and bye-bye Rubik. And now the toss turnaround. They're gonna go on to J4. Big Num stunned. Somebody stop him. Actually, Crit coming in. Big Daddy's healing himself up. And now with the extra bit of damage, maybe they can win this fight. J4's drop low. Toss up in the air is enough to be able to finish him off. Big Daddy needs to get out though. He's left alone. The Centaur's already retreated. The extra bit of damage. Blink away soon in a second. Oh, he gets out. Cheshire Cat, he's running him down, and Centaur managed to get the kill on Ditchia Raw. That was a great fight.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. If I'm gonna talk about Dota 2's micro mechanics, I should give you a demonstration of something a little more basic. For a more realistic example and showcase about what I'm yapping about, here's Warlock from Dota 2. His ultimate is called Chaotic Offering. It summons a big fuck-off golem from hell that you can directly control. 2 golems if you have Aghanim Scepter, 4 with a Refresher Orb, 5 if you die. Now, on the surface, Annie from League of Legends is rather similar with her ultimate, Summon Tibbers. They're both big flaming minions who cause a ground explosion when they're summoned. The main difference between these two is how you control them. You see, in League of Legends, you can maybe control one other unit other than your playable character. So if Annie has Tibbers, Ivern has Daisy, Shaco has his clone, but all these characters control their summons all the same way. You don't right-click with them, you don't select them with your mouse or click another button. They're all controlled by moving your mouse and then pressing the ultimate button. All other summons in this game cannot be directly controlled, only influenced. And this isn't exclusive to League of Legends. Hera from Smite is similar. She also summons a big bodyguard called Argus, but she doesn't control it directly. She can only tell it where to go or who to attack by pressing the R button again.
Hera can either manually control Argus by refiring the ability, or Hera can recall Argus to her side where he will attack anyone that gets too close.
This is a limitation in these games since, again, you quite literally cannot unselect your playable character. You know League of Legends is cooked when controlling the Amazon delivery courier in Dota requires more micro skill than any of these so-called summoner champions. Summoner's Rift? More like summoners can't do shit.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Sorry, I'm letting my anti-Riot Games bias show again. I understand that learning all of these game systems, mechanics, and little nuances can be a very daunting task for any player, even an RTS player looking to get into Dota. But I think Dota 2 has quite a few ways to help ease players into controlling characters other than their selected hero. And this is where I think Dota 2 PowerPoint might have some slides to share with you all. Take it away, man.
Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Micro, not just for boomers. To newer players, the concept of controlling more than just your hero sounds terrifying, but Dota does a really good job of teaching players how to micro without them even realizing it. The game puts simple controls for the courier on the screen at all times, but if you want to send it to the alternate store or stop it from being ruthlessly murdered by enemy heroes, you have to take manual control of it. This gives every hero a baseline level of micro, but it's not the only stepping stone to learn. Heroes like Witch Doctor and Shadow Shaman can use simple micro skills to optimize their ultimates, which are small opportunities to explore the concept. Above that, players can move on to heroes like Enigma, who have multiple units but can be treated like a single giant mass. From there, you have Enchantress, who can control units with abilities, Terrorblade, who is a constant spawn of controllable illusions, and Brewmaster, who temporarily controls several mini-heroes. If you really like flexing your micro skills on the less mechanically able, you can pick a hero like Meepo, who involves controlling 4 different heroes, all with their own cooldowns, spread out across the entire map, and if you ever let any of them die, the rest die with them. In short, Dota lets you crawl, walk, run, or even hit the Dougie at your own pace, and will reward you every time you take another step. Now, dying horribly is a necessary part of learning micro, but it's not the only way to make future adventures easier. The Dota 2 settings menu, which is a total ripoff of Deadlocks by the way, includes dozens of toggles and options designed to make micro easier. If you want to use your toaster to select your courier, there's probably a way to do it. Control groups are another bit of RTS DNA still raging inside of Dota. These allow you to sort controllable units into groups during a game, which can help you make adjustments on the fly. There's also the option of using unified orders, which just makes everything do the same thing at the same time. The game wants you to learn, even if you never plan on picking Meepo or Chan or any of those super scary micro heroes. It may seem intimidating at first, but the giant settings menu is Dota's method of meeting you halfway when it comes to learning micro. I wrote a little bit about how Dota 2 still feels like a mod, feel free to read it if you like. In conclusion, micro is a rewarding skill, and you should absolutely learn it. Maybe you'll discover that you were really born to play StarCraft, and you'll go on to win tens of hundreds of dollars in prize money. Thank you very much for having me on, Argo, and peace on planet Earth.
There are many micro-intensive and summoner-style heroes in Dota. I won't go into super detail about each and every of them, however, I will give a short description about the notable ones. Arc Warden, who summons a perfect clone who has the same spells and items as you. If you see this guy in your pub match on the enemy team, he is most definitely a Smurf. Brewmaster, who splits into 4 pandas. Each and every single one of them are the bane of my existence. Lone Druid, a hero who is actually 2 heroes in one. He summons a bear companion who also has a full inventory, allowing him to have 2 Hand of Midases to grief your team with. Phantom Lancer makes a few illusions, nothing major. In fact, let's play a little game. Which of these Phantom Lancers is the real one? Okay, how about now? How about now? One of them is the real one. Only God knows which one, though. And then we have Chen. He's a hero who starts off with a jungle monster companion, and over the course of the game, you can convert other jungle monsters under your control. By the end, you can have 1 creep in each of the 3 lanes, another creep bodyguarding your carry, and Chen himself bodyguarding the mid player. Yes, I understand that this example isn't necessarily realistic. All 7 of you Chen mains can put the pitchforks down, but you get my point. The ability to control multiple units across the battlefield, with battles and little skirmishes happening all at the same time with little micro decisions in one part of the map and then you have to make another decision on the other part of the map. This is the spirit of RTS that I truly believe that Dota can still encapsulate. And if you think that Chen's little jungle monsters are just mindless units that you A-click down a lane, think again. In case you guys didn't know, every single jungle monster in Dota 2 has their own unique abilities and spells. All of these abilities are comparable and some might even argue stronger than some hero abilities. And Chen has full access to all of them. Now obviously, not all Dota heroes are micro-intensive heroes like these guys, but a lot of them are, and a lot of these micro-intensive or summoner-style heroes get a lot of time on the spotlight. Anywhere from lowly pubs fighting in the Herald ranks to pro players microing the fuck out in one of the largest esports tournaments of the world. And having these micro-intensive heroes kinda represent the RTS genre in spirit is an awesome thing to see. I played a lot of RTS games growing up. However, for the sake of context, I do need to state that I never played RTS games competitively. Hell, I never even took them seriously when I did play them. Whenever competitive RTS games like StarCraft were at their prime, I was just a smooth-brained child who could barely comprehend video games. It's probably for that reason why I enjoy playing RTS games like Command & Conquer Generals, Empire Earth, and Age of Mythology, because these games weren't competitively viable. These games have entire branches of units that are basically memes or just completely useless, but hey, it's fun. I'll take a fun, unbalanced RTS over a competitively viable, hyper-serious RTS any day of the week. The closest that I ever got to a competitive RTS experience was when I was chilling with a friend in a cyber cafe, and for some reason, he challenged this Korean guy who would also frequent this cafe into a 2v1 match, him versus the two of us. My friend probably thought we would have the numbers advantage, but needless to say, we lost badly. I don't know, competitive RTS never interested me. I think it's due to the lack of cooperative team play, maybe. I'm not entirely sure how competitive RTS games were necessarily played, but from what I have seen, it just seems to devolve into this 1v1 match that's all about actions per minute and hyper efficiency. So, in a weird way, if you really think about it, high-level 1 vs 1 StarCraft is technically no different from a fighting game like Street Fighter or Tekken. Or at least that's the cope I tell myself, given the fact that my ability to micromanage units is absolute shit. And on the topic of micromanaging units, apologies my fellow Dota 2 players to the absolute dogshit example that I'm showing off on screen of creep body blocking, but this is essentially what I'm talking about. You, the player, controlling 2 or more units seamlessly. And in this example, you the player are controlling your own hero all the while controlling your summon to physically use its body to slow down enemies chasing you or to slow down the enemy that you are chasing. In fact, entire metas have been defined by summons in Dota 2's history. Usually, whenever summons are powerful in a certain gameplay update, the patch is referred to as a zoo meta. In fact, this year's Dota 2 TI tournament, the biggest Dota 2 tournament of the year, was completely dominated by the Helm of the Dominator, pun not intended. This is a relatively cheap item that allows players to control creeps. Granted, the reason that people were buying this item wasn't necessarily for the utility of controlling creeps, but nevertheless, almost every game in this tournament was a zoo, with players controlling their own personal barnyards. Just saying, Dota 2 PowerPoints made a video about this topic, link in the video description. Another concept that I feel like has a lot of overlap when it comes to MOBAs and RTS games is the concept of turrets. Many characters in these games have some form of turret or ward style of unit. Usually these act like tiny towers that attack things. And of course, defensive towers or defensive structures of any kind exists in all forms of RTS games, and naturally it would bleed over into MOBA games. But again, Dota goes above and beyond, because out of all of the games that feature some sort of turret-style character, Heimerdinger Zyra from League of Legends, Vulcan from Smite, and even McGinnis from Deadlock, all these characters' turrets are auto-turrets. Again, they can be influenced, but for the most part, they do their own thing. Dota has a lot of heroes who can summon their own turrets, or usually in this case, wards. The main difference is, Dota's characters have absolute full control over these wards. They can attack specific targets, they can completely stop attacking altogether if they wanted to. This part might seem a little nitpicky, but it just goes to show that if the ability to control a unit is there, Dota will allow you to. And because you can control them, it allows for some insane level plays, like for example, if your ward is about to be killed by the enemy, you can have another ward kill it to prevent the enemy from getting any money from it. That's right, self-ward denying. It's a thing in Dota. This is what I mean when I say that Dota is a real-time strategy game. Controlling one character and then another, and that other character has their own unique special abilities that can synergize perfectly with your own. And all the while the enemy team has their own summons, their own controllable units. And before I continue into this video, I just want to reassure any RTS purists that might be watching this. let me assure you that Dota, or any other MOBA for that matter, these are not true real-time strategy games. There's no economy, there's no population to keep track of, there's no buildings, no workers, and at least in Dota, controlling half a dozen units is very, very different than controlling an entire army of hundreds of units. I am also aware that one of the many reasons that RTSs kinda lost their popularity was due to MOBAs kinda taking off. Quite understandably, there's quite a few bitter RTS fans out there because, well, their favorite game genre kinda died, so another could take its place. And honestly, that anger is somewhat justified. I used to play RTSs long before I played MOBAs. Back in the late 2000s up until exactly the year 2010, I would often go to computer cafes with friends after school, usually to play games like Counter-Strike, but sometimes we would go in there just to play RTS games like StarCraft and Warcraft 3. But everyone else around me was playing Dota 1. And I swear, people gave us some weird looks when they peeked at my monitor thinking our Dota 1 match was super bugged or something. The point is, I too love RTS games, even though it's been a while since I've played them. And eventually, I also grew to love MOBAs as well. And while I agree with you all that the RTS genre isn't what it used to be, at the very least, Dota 2 is the only modern and successful MOBA that still contains a lot of RTS DNA. Many newer Dota players, especially those who never played it back when it was still a mod, they have no idea about this game's rich heritage. And one of the reasons that I wanted to make this video is to inform and spread awareness of this fact. The fact that the RTS genre gave so much to this game, such as the ability to micro multiple units, Dota owes a lot to the genre that preceded it. And I just want to make sure that people know about this fact and don't forget it. Sorry if this was a bit of a tangent, but yes, I am aware of the somewhat contentious relationship with RTS purists and MOBA players. I sympathize with you guys, but I also enjoy the genre that succeeded it. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. I think I'm just gonna end up pissing off the RTS players even more. Back to Dota and its micro-intensive units and heroes. I'm not saying that summoner characters are necessary for any good draft of Dota 2. Trust me, I can't micromanage units for shit. That's why I play heroes like Underlord and Mars.
I can't believe this. Oh, but.
Oh no!
You greedy cow.
But as long as a game has the option to facilitate complex unit micromanagement, it just increases the skill expression of any given game exponentially. And unfortunately, unit micromanagement is a skill that can't really be expressed in these other games. And as a quick aside on that topic, I can excuse Deadlock and Smite for the lack of direct unit control because it's an inherent limitation of the third-person perspective, but League of Legends, you have absolutely no excuse. I like how earlier in the video I said I was gonna limit the amount of bullying that I was gonna do to League of Legends. Yeah. I'm never gonna stop. I personally never played Heroes of the Storm, but again, as brought up by my dedicated YouTube member, Rye Guy, HOTS indeed did have quite the selection of summoner heroes, and from what he's told me, they are rather unique. So how are you, if you were in a 3-lane thing, how could you micro, like you just have to shift between 3 characters, like constantly screen swapping?
Yeah, pretty much. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're kind of like how you would set up little control groups. In fact, whenever I played Dota, this game, Lost Vikings, inspired how I set up my control groups for what micro characters I did play.
So I'm just glad that Heroes of the Storm clung to its RTS roots. It would be embarrassing if they didn't. After all, Blizzard is known for their RTS games and sexual harassment cases. It's a shame that Heroes of the Storm wasn't able to stick around. It genuinely felt like the only other top-down MOBA that was trying to be unique, whereas everybody else was just aping off League of Legends. But I can understand why all of this complexity might make a game not super popular. After all, the popularity of RTS-style games has long faded. We are entering a new generation of gamers who have probably never played an RTS game in their lives. In fact, I have quite a few gamer buddies of the Zoomer persuasion who just can't get into top-down MOBAs at all, even the more action-focused ones. From what they've told me, it all comes down to a disconnect of the feeling of control. In Valorant, you are the character that you are playing. You control them directly with the keyboard, you aim with the mouse, and you fire. The character's eyes are your own. Whereas in RTS games and MOBAs, you're not controlling the boots on the ground soldier, you're the commander, the eye in the sky. You tell your characters what to do via right-clicking. I'm not saying that all newer gamers can't get into top-down games or MOBAs or RTS games, of course not. But one thing to keep in mind is that all of this added depth comes at a price. These mechanics are very demanding. I've seen quite a few new players to Dota 2 get completely confused why the control of their hero disappeared, unaware that they were controlling their courier the entire time. But you gotta take the good and the bad when it comes to a game as mechanically dense as Dota 2. Because this game is truly the last MOBA to show off its RTS DNA proudly. And I guess that's why I, and many others, find it so satisfying. This game is hard as shit to play and impossible to master. But hey, the payoff for improving and learning, even as something as simple as basic microcontrol, is an amazing feeling. Dota has actually gone full circle, and now in the Custom Games tab, you can convert Dota back into an RTS game, back into Warcraft 3. Blizzard, eat your heart out.
I saw this woman breastfeeding her child in a non-optimal way, so being the kind man I am, I showed her how to do it correctly.
This next part isn't sponsored at all, but I was made aware of this game called March of the Giants. It's a MOBA, but it's all about army management. It looks kind of interesting, not gonna lie, and I might give it a try whenever it comes out. But unfortunately, it's made by Amazon, and you know they don't exactly have the best track record when it comes to their video games. And to end this video, again, I just wanted to stress once more that having complex micromanagement systems and mechanics in your MOBA isn't necessary for strategic depth. Despite how much I've been making fun of League of Legends, I would be lying if I didn't say that there isn't a lot of strategic depth and possibilities within this game. Of course there is. And the same goes for any MOBA, because no matter how far removed a MOBA might seem from its RTS roots, one thing that you absolutely cannot take away from these types of games is the importance of strategic thinking. And that's one aspect that I think will never disappear, no matter how many times you change the perspective. But with all that being said, I just miss the RTS games of old. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I ended up playing Dota for so long. It might be due to the fact that it reminds me of those days when I could just boot up the old family PC and play some StarCraft 1, Warcraft 3, and Empire Earth. But what do you think, Internet Wanderer? Do you think my cherry picking was sufficiently biased? What RTS games did you play when you were growing up? And do you agree with my assessment that Dota 2 is the only true RTS MOBA out there? Let me know in the comment section down below. That's gonna be it for me, Internet Wanderer. Thanks again for Dota 2 PowerPoints for featuring in this video, and I'll catch you all later. Do the YouTube things.